Good morning and welcome to the Knit Shift episode 20. My name is Laura and today is Thursday, August 13th, 2015. It's my 20th episode, which is pretty exciting, and you would think I would know how to start these, but I always make a mistake and I've had to restart recording many times this morning, more than perhaps any other morning. So, welcome. This is a knitting podcast. Show notes for this episode can be found at theknitshift.com. This episode is available on iTunes, YouTube, and on theknitshift.com. I'm on Instagram as Laura Mahalski. Just send me a follow request and I will approve it. And I am on Ravelry as Yarn Stormer. And we have a Ravelry group for the podcast if you search for The Knit Shift. So come on over and join us. We have a Knitalong going on right now for baby projects. Knitting, crochet, doesn't matter, but all are welcome. There are prizes, which I will share again today. I remembered to bring them out of the yarn room, basically. There is a thread in the Ravelry group devoted to finished objects, so just share a photo there. Baby sweater counts, blankets count, basically any baby project counts, except for footwear. But if you knit a couple pairs of baby socks, that can count as one entry. So hop on over to Ravelry. I think we are up to more than 50, 60 entries, which is fantastic. And it runs for about 2.5 more weeks. It started June 1st and it goes until August 31st. So I hope you'll come on by. So our prizes, we have 3 prizes, which I think I've decided that I will hand out separately, so as to maximize people's chances of winning a prize. Our first is a bag from Nitty Kitty Bags on Etsy. It's a fun, sheepy bag. This is something Wendy provided, so thank you, Wendy of Nitty Kitty. Here is her card. Let me cover up her address. And her Etsy shop is nittykittybags.etsy.com. And it's lined, and I have the other prizes inside. But this is like the perfect size for a sock for a small project. It's lined with this fun red fabric, and if you didn't notice, it's wool, it's balls of yarn that are sheep. So that's one prize. Prize number 2 is a needle keeper. This is it looks like a magic wand, and you stick your project needles on your project that's on the needles. You put the pointy end in here. There's a little, let's see if I can show it properly. There's a little slit right there, and it holds your needles in here and prevents the project from falling off of the needles, which is really fantastic. So, highly recommend it. This was available at my local yarn shop where it's been hugely popular. And finally, we have a skein of Malabrigo Machita, which is a single-ply fingering weight yarn, in the colorway Arequita. And it's blues and greens, and it just reminds me of forests and nature and the Pacific Northwest, especially this cypress green right here. Many shades of green, hints of blue in there with the green, and then there's this really lovely some splotches of blue. So this would make a great fingering weight shawl, I think. I'm hopeful someone makes something great out of this. So those are our 3 prizes. I will close the thread on August 31st and pick numbers out of a random number generator on the interwebs. So stay tuned for that. So I want to say first off, thank you to everyone who had nice things to say over the whole duration of the podcast, but especially the past few weeks when it comes to me starting a new job very soon. It starts on Tuesday, so just a few more days from now. And you've been really lovely about my boyfriend's plans to leave the newspaper as well and go back to school full time. So I really appreciate all the kind things everyone has said about that and in general. I've been doing this not quite 6 months yet, but I'm just really tickled with the response that I've had since I started this. So thank you very much. It really is kind of you, and it really means a lot to me that so many people have been so nice. So thank you very much. Let's see. What else did so today's episode I won't speak in the royal we. I can't do that. I have a new work in progress for you. I have an update on the shawls that I'm knitting, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my recipe plans that I mentioned in last week's episode. So without further ado, let's get into the knitting. Oh, it's right next to me. First up is a sock. I started this a couple weeks ago. I'm knitting it from a Zauberball. I think from Shoppa-Wool. I'm gonna mess it up, but it's Zauberball, which are sold in a lot of yarn stores. It's a commercially dyed yarn. I don't know the color name, but it's a lovely fuchsias and hot pinks, magenta, purple. I really like this, and I did not expect to get as far as I did. I am beyond the heel, clearly. But there you have it. I worked on this at a baseball game this weekend, and I think I was about here before the game, and Josh and I were out and about, so I was knitting as we were out and about, and then I realized, oh gosh, I'm going to have to turn the heel at the baseball game. So I did a fish lips kiss heel and carried on up the leg, and I did all of that at the baseball game, which is one of the reasons I love the fish lips kiss heel. There's no gusset. You just start the heel when it's time to start the heel, and it takes less than an hour, even if you have to put it down. And I put it down to eat a hot dog and picked it back up again, and then I had ice cream later at the game. So it's an easy heel to put down and come back to. I'm knitting these on a US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter, and these are my Chai Gu needles. I love them. They're my go-to for socks. They're very reasonably priced. I love the point on them. They're nice and sharp. And I have them in many sizes for my socks. So I've got a lot of yarn left. It doesn't feel like enough, but I know it will be. So purple is up next in terms of what's gonna come next in the ball of yarn. So very excited to see these develop. These are just so bright and fun, and I really like them. And next up, I have an update on the shawls I've been knitting. First, I will share with you the pie shawl, which I started about a month ago. I have not touched this since I was on the train home from New York City. I have been really devoted to the other shawl that I will show you next. But I did make a good bit of progress on this thanks to my train trip to New York. I stopped this when I did because I'm knitting it with cobweb weight yarn, and one of the strands broke. I'm knitting it double-stranded, and you can see one of the strands is just kind of hanging loose here. So there it is. It's really hard to see, but it's there. So I'm knitting this double-stranded. It's cobweb weight. It's wool I got from a cone on clearance at Webb's. It's Yorkshire. Let me pull up the name here. Yorkshire wool mill end. It's a 250 gram cone with about 4,500 yards on it, I believe. That sounds a little high. It might be only 4,200 yards. So I'm knitting it double, which means I basically have 2,100 yards thereabouts. So this is a very long-term project because it's on US 2 or a 2.75 millimeter needle, and it's a decent size. It's larger than my head right now. So I don't expect a whole lot of progress on this anytime soon because I've been so devoted to my other shawl. But now that I'm holding it in my hands, I really want to, adds something to it. So maybe I'll pick this up again sooner rather than later. It won't be finished this winter. I need to face the facts. I need to be honest with myself and know that I am not going to finish this. I'm knitting from the cone, which might not look like a lot, but again, this is cobweb weight yarn, so there's so much here, and this is half of it, because the other half is in a cake I wound off. But this isn't the only cake. There's a cake, you can't see it, but it's on the other side of the camera, on the other side of my living room. So this and the cake on the other side of the living room equals what's left on the cone. So the shawl is going to be enormous, and I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but I just got worried about having only 2,100 yards for this project because I am using such a small needle. So as an insurance policy, I went ahead and bought a second cone at Webb's. So I mean, it's like with shipping, it was less than $20, so it's a $20 insurance policy that I don't run out of yarn when it comes time to bind this thing off. I'm almost certain that I will have more than 1,000 needles on 1,000 stitches on the needles when it comes time to bind off. And again, this is Elizabeth Zimmerman's pie shawl, and it's from her Knitter's Almanac book, and it's the version of the pie shawl with concentric circles. So it's very, very simple, good mindless knitting, but because I am knitting it double-stranded, I have to pay more attention to it than normal pie shawls where you're just knitting one strand. So stay tuned. Again, I'm going to update you guys on the progress of these shawls every 2 weeks. Not every week, just because like with the pie shawl, there's just not going to be much progress. But I'm going to use progress keepers to mark my progression, for lack of a better term, to see how far I get in between episodes. So that's the second project on the needles. And my third project is the one I have been knitting on the most this week. I am a woman obsessed with this project. This is my forest canopy shawl. And I had to switch from a 24-inch cable to a 47-inch cable because it was just so scrunched up on the needles. So it's really, really getting big. And for me, I mean, I never knit lace shawls. I've knit maybe one or two ever. So here it is in all of its glory. I think when I showed this a couple weeks ago, it might have been, the edges were like right here where I'm pointing. It was very small. So I've really been devoted to this recently. This is the Forest Canopy pattern by, is it Susan Lawrence? Yes, it's a paid-for pattern by Susan Lawrence. I think it's $7 on Ravelry. It calls for fingering weight yarn, I believe, but really it can be customized to whatever yarn you have. It's a very basic beginner lace shawl. It's a very simple lace repeat. There are 8 rows total. 4 of them are purl, and of the lace rows, so there's 4 purl rows, and of the 4 knit side rows, 1 of them is stockinette. So it's very, very simple. It's only 3 rows out of 8 that are lace. And I can't wait to block this and see how big it gets. I hope the pattern is showing up okay. I can't really see through it to the monitor. But I'm using Apple Tree Knits yarn, and thank you to those of you who helped me track down the name of it when I took a stab at it 2 weeks ago. It's a gradient yarn, the Champagne Gradient, and so I think you can see the color starting to change along the bottom part of it. Yeah, it's definitely looking a bit lighter now that I'm progressing into it. But here's what the cake looks like. I'm knitting from the inside out, clearly, and it's just getting lighter and lighter over time and will eventually be white. This was a gift from my mom, who had gone to a fiber festival in Pittsburgh, and Apple Tree Knits had a booth there, and it's fingering weight yarn. I believe it's their plush base, which is I think 100% merino, and it's about 800 yards. I think it's like a special put up for this gradient. I love this so much. This is not a color I would normally buy for myself, which is why I love when people give me yarn that's out of my wheelhouse, because it really challenges me to not stick with my comfort zone, which is blues and greens and purples. So I really, really love this. I think it's going to be a stunning shawl. My hope is to finish this before I go away on a trip with some friends in the end of October. And at this rate, I think I'll be done by mid-September. That's kind of a goal I have in my mind, in the back of my mind, is to finish this by mid-September. So we'll see if I can hold to that. But I really love it, and I'm at the point where I can read my lace, and I have made some mistakes here and there, but I can, knock wood, I can always figure out where I went wrong and try to correct my path a little bit. So I really, really like this. I'm so excited with how it's working up, and I'm very eager to continue. I'm knitting a lot on it on my weekends, and not as much during the week. Maybe two or three rows each day during the week. But I'm really counting on amping that process up. Amping up on this weekend again. I actually have a 4-day weekend coming up because my schedule changes with my new job. So I'm off tomorrow and Saturday, which were my days off with my current job. And then the calendar, our scheduling goes Sunday through Saturday. So I'm off Friday, Saturday, and then the calendar resets because it's a new week on Sunday. And my new job, my days off will be Sunday, Monday. So I have a 4-day weekend, accidentally, which is fantastic. So there will be a lot of knitting in my near future. I won't be so bold as to think I could finish this by Monday or Tuesday, by the day I start my new job. That's not going to happen because I have a lot of yarn left. I'm really trying to maximize every last inch of this, and every time I finish a repeat, I weigh what's left of the cake, and I'm trying to maximize my number of repeats. Once you knit the repeat, you just keep doing it over and over again. It's not like there's multiple charts or anything. Well, there is a chart for the border, so I'm trying to knit with the idea in mind of how much yarn I will need to knit the border. So we'll see. Stay tuned. So really excited about this. And I am using my own needle keeper for this. Now that it is so big on the needles, I really am worried about stitches falling off. So I will stick this back on. Yeah, this is so great. So you just put it on, and honestly, you could carry it around by the needle keeper and it won't fall off. It's super fantastic. And that is it for projects on the needles right now. In addition to a goal of finishing this by late October, I also hope to finish a sweater I have on the needles and have had on the needles since before I started this podcast. It's been going that long, and you've never seen it. I haven't shared it with you. It's a Mama Vertebrae sweater. It's gray, and I have already separated for the sleeves. So all that is left is the body, which is straight stockinette, and the arms, the sleeves, and the button band. That's it. So I have a hope of finishing that before I go away in late October as well. I'm not going to Rhinebeck, but I'm going to SAF in Asheville, North Carolina, I think the week after Rhinebeck, maybe 2 weeks. It's Halloween weekend is when SAF is held, and it's Southeastern Animal Fiber Festival, SAFF. But I'm going with some friends. We have a house that we're renting in North Carolina just for the weekend, for a long weekend, and I'm so excited for it. Like, I'm not counting down the days yet, but I really can't wait. So we're going to have so much fun. So my goal is to have both of those things finished before I go to North Carolina, so that it is my quote-unquote Rhinebeck sweater, my SAF sweater. If you'll excuse me, I just need a sip of water. That's better. Okay, what's next? I have no spinning. I've been a bad spinner in that I haven't been spinning at all. But this shawl has just sucked up all of my knitting attention lately. Soon I'll get back to it. But if nothing else, the podcast will hopefully keep me accountable in making some progress there. And I wanted to talk about future knitting plans too. I really have an itch to cast on a Fair Isle tam. I've never knit a Fair Isle tam. I've never knit Fair Isle. I've never knit a tam. None of the above. But I just think it would be so luscious for fall to have a beautiful Fair Isle tam. Maybe for winter. Fall around here where I live in Virginia, we don't really need much fall knitwear when you're out and about. Maybe a shawl, but definitely not a hat. I really want a Fair Isle tam. We'll see. I need to do a little research in my stash. I don't think that I have the woolly wools required of, like, I don't have any Shetland wool. I don't have any Jamisons to do stranded knitwear. And I'm trying not to buy yarn until SAF, but I might have to make an exception for a tam. We'll see. Stay tuned on that. So that brings us to yarns. I have 2 skeins of yarns to share with you. I ordered these back in June, I believe. Maybe even May, from Desert Vista Dye Works, and they dye to order, so it takes some time, which is fine. I'm in no hurry. One of these skeins is something I saw on their website, or maybe on their Instagram feed, and it's inspired by a children's book, and I loved it when I saw it. And this was months ago. And I didn't buy it then. And then I saw they were having an update, and I finally bit the bullet because I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it was months, and months had gone by, and I thought, this isn't just a knee-jerk reaction. I really do want this yarn deep down inside. So I bought it. And it is called Harold's Purple Crayon, based on the lovely children's book, Harold and the Purple Crayon. And I don't know if you remember these books, but they're just small little paperbacks, and they tell the tale of a little boy named Harold who has a purple crayon, spoiler alert, and he just draws these imaginative worlds that he goes and inhabits, and they're so much fun. And for a kid, they're just really exciting. The idea that you can just draw a crayon in the air and it will make this world for you, and it's a very stylized illustration, and these really are the colors in the book. This dark purple, medium purple, and bright blue. And this is self-striping. This is Viso 7525 Super Ash Merino nylon. And like I said, it's Desert Vista Dye Works. So I'm very excited. This will be socks, certainly. And while I was there, I thought I would peruse and see what else they had. I've never bought any Desert Vista Dye Works, but I've heard such wonderful things about their self-striping yarn. I ended up seeing this speckled yarn that I really liked, and it was on sale for, I think, $16. And I love a bargain. So I picked this up too. It's not self-striping, but it's speckled, like I said, and the colorway is Decomp Green. And it's bright greens and pinks and whites, and there's cypressy, dark greeny bits. I really, really like this. This would be a really pretty shawl. And I've never worked with their yarn, but this is so soft. This is also the Viso base. It's 7525 merino nylon, 462 yards. So I don't know what I'll do with this. Perhaps it will be socks. This would be a lovely baby sweater for a little girl. We'll see. So that's it for my stash enhancement. And what does that bring us to? This is technically the final segment, odds and ends. It's been a really good week. It's the last week of my my job on the copy desk at the news organization where I work, and I start a new job on Tuesday where I'll be responsible for planning the print edition, and I'll be serving as an editor late at night when people go out and cover things. I'll be assigning news coverage in the evening when news happens. I will be in charge at night, basically. It's more responsibility. I will be managing people. I'm very excited for it. It feels like a job that I could really do a lot with. I think I could be of help to the paper in a different way than I am right now. So I'm very excited. And even though it's focused on the print paper, I'm not someone who can just ignore the digital side of things. That's where this industry is moving. So even if it's not required of me, I'll be thinking about that too, because it's not my nature to just do the bare minimum. I'm someone who likes to do a lot. So I'm really excited for it. And so apparently my boss is planning a little farewell for this evening at work for me. Not a farewell, just a send-off. Farewell it has a lot of finality to it, but this is just a small change. I'll be working, instead of 4 to midnight, I'll be working 1:30 to 10 or thereabouts. So a little bit earlier, which is great, which is fine. I'm looking forward to a chance to go to bed even earlier. As it is, I go to bed between 12:30 and 1. Now I'm hoping I can go to bed between 11 and midnight, which will be more quote-unquote normal hours. And next Tuesday is my first day of the new job, and it's my boyfriend's last day of work at the paper, so it's kind of funny how that works out. But we're very excited about it, and we're looking at it as a chance for, it's almost like it's back to school time for him, because he's been going to school, and we're just kind of looking at it like a chance to kind of reset and get back to going to bed earlier and cooking more, and it's just kind of a fresh start all around for both of us, so we're very excited. But we had a good week. We went to a baseball game on Saturday night. The Norfolk Tides are the local AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles, and there's a stadium right here in Norfolk. So we went and saw them play the, is it Indianapolis? The Indianapolis Indians, which are an affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates, I believe, which is my team, being from Pittsburgh. So I still rooted for the Tides, though. We had a really nice time. The weather was perfect. It was in the 70s, and I even brought a shawl, which was really smart because it was chilly once the sun went down. It was also Navy night. Norfolk is a Navy town. There's tons of Navy installations here. So there was a lot of honoring of the military, which was really nice. And tomorrow, which will be my first day off and my 4-day weekend, I will be going to the Outer Banks with my aunt. We're just going to go down and do a little outlet shopping and maybe go to the beach and have lunch and come back. So that'll be a nice day. Really nice time. And yeah, so that's the week I had. That's what's coming up. We're also, Josh and I are going to go out to dinner Monday night and celebrate all of these exciting changes. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll talk more about that next week once the dinner is over with. So it'll be a fun date night. And I have 3 patterns to share with you that I found this week that I'm obsessed with. And I didn't pull them up on my phone yet, so I'm going to do it while I talk. I hope you don't mind. I was looking at them on my phone last night, so it's not like they should be in my recent history here. The first is an asymmetrical shawl I wanted to share with you. I saw all of these on Instagram, which is where I find a lot of my knitting inspiration. And this pattern is called Sailing, and it's by Meg Gadsby. And it's a very simple stockinette garter triangular shawl. And I hope you don't mind that I'm showing it to you on my phone. So here's Sailing. Just panels of garter and stockinette interludes. It looks super simple and super cozy for the fall. This is a $6 pattern, and it calls for fingering weight yarn or DK weight yarn. You could have your options of sizes basically, and it calls for a single skein of fingering weight yarn or 516 yards of DK weight. And let me pull up the big view of it. There's the big view. I hope that looks okay on this little iPhone screen. So that's one shawl I wanted to share with you. I have an idea in mind for yarn I would like to use for this. Now that I'm knitting this lace shawl, the forest canopy shawl, I'm really loving shawls right now. So as much as I want to cast on another one, I know I have to finish my forest canopy before I go for another one. And let me pull up the next one. This is called Scarlet's Garden, and it's by Nadia, and she has a French last name. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but it's Cretin dash Lechen. I don't speak French. I'm sorry for bungling it. Very, very sorry. But let me show you the photo on Instagram that piqued my interest. Sorry for the delay. But the account Spark Story Studio shared this, and I just thought it was so stunning. It's I believe it's a garter. No, it's stockinette, and then it moves into these lovely open, I don't even know how to describe them, it's like a diamond eyelet pattern. I just think it's so stunning. And here, let me show you one more view of it. This is a little better. So lovely. It's a paid for pattern, and I believe it is €4.50 or about $4.70 American dollars, and it calls for between 600 and 800 yards of fingering weight yarn, so at least 2 skeins of a fingering weight yarn. And it's a crescent shape. It looks so pretty, and I really want to make it. And the final thing I wanted to share with you was a sock pattern. It's called The Winding Way Socks by Tin Can Knits, and it's $5, and it's part of the Handmade in the UK series. And I don't knit patterned socks very much, but I just thought these were too beautiful not to share. Aren't those cool? The pattern comes in 3 sizes: adult, small, medium, and large. And I believe I said it was $5. So really pretty stuff. Oh, and I know what else I wanted to talk about. I mentioned my recipe plan and my cooking. So when I was in New York, I stayed with my friend Jamie, and she kept a binder of recipes printed out from the internet. I don't know if she had magazine pages, but I basically copied her idea, and I bought a binder at Target and some sheet protectors, and I started, and section dividers, and I started my own little cookbook. I subscribe to Cooking Light, so anytime I see a recipe I like, I tear it out, but then I just have sheets of paper, sheets of torn out magazines lying around, so I decided to put them in my binder, and separate it by, meats. And then I have casserole / crock pot. And here I have soups. And then I get into, I believe, salads and side dishes. So, yeah, I'm very excited about it. And it's kind of like Pinterest, but on paper, basically. It's a way to keep my recipes handy. And then they're handy while I cook, and I don't have to keep looking at my phone. So, I'll let you know how that works out. But I only have maybe 15 recipes or so in there right now. I've just gone through some recent Cooking Light magazines that I had piled up and tore out some recipes, so I'm excited to try them out. And a few people mentioned budget bites as an option for recipes on, they seem easy and they seem low cost, which I like. So I'll be trying out some of those as well. And in other odds and ends, I mentioned a while back on the podcast that I really recommended the show, the podcast Mystery Show, and it took a little hiatus, but it's back. I think it had about 4 or 5 weeks off. And if you aren't familiar with it, it's from a woman named Starlee Kine, who sometimes appears on This American Life. Basically, she goes out to solve mysteries. This isn't crime mysteries. This isn't life or death mysteries. It's just difficult mysteries that can't be easily solved by Googling something. So her very first episode was about a woman who rented a movie. She had just moved into a neighborhood in New York and signed up for a movie rental card soon after moving in. Rented a movie that night, went to return it the next day because she did not like the movie, and the movie store was gone. Packed up, disappeared. The shelves were gone. It was like the place didn't exist, and it just kind of messed with her mind, because how does that happen? One night they give you a card as a new customer, and then the next day they're gone. So Starlee goes about solving mysteries that people bring to her. And there's been one episode in particular I really loved, and it's called Belt Buckle, and I highly recommend it. And she just kind of has a gift for talking to people and getting them to open up. And there's a lot of tangents that don't necessarily tie to the mystery, but that's kind of how solving a mystery is. You have to go on some wild goose chases and you have to hear some stories before you get to the real meat of what you're looking for. So I really recommend it. I'm not done with the most recent episode, the new one that just showed up. It's called Cotter, as in Welcome Back, Cotter. And that's all I'll say about it. But I'm really enjoying it, and I cannot recommend it enough. And I believe, finally, I wanted to do another lipstick of the week, because it's been a few weeks since I've done that. And I recently did an order from Avon, believe it or not. My mom always bought Avon growing up and had an Avon lady. But now, thanks to the internets, I can buy Avon online and not have an Avon lady. No offense to Avon ladies, but I feel like there's a lot of pressure there to buy. So if I want to buy something, I can just go on avon.com and buy it. So that's what I did. And I can talk about why I was specifically going on Avon another time. This is already a little bit longer than normal. But while I was there buying something, I decided to browse the lipsticks, because I'm a sucker for new lipstick, and I found a few colors, and I thought I would wear one today. So this is Avon Ultra Color Indulgence in the color Rose Bouquet, which is a beautiful, lovely rose, good work, neutral. And let me pick up the camera and move it toward myself. I really like it. The formula is great. It smells like cucumbers, though. And it's not like fresh cucumber. It smells like the cucumber lotion from Bath & Body Works from the early 90s, which, if you're into, great. But I don't really like the smell of it. But here's the color. But it's just a good neutral rose. It is what it is. It was about $5. Can't beat it. And there you have it. That's this week's episode, you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. I really missed recording 2 weeks ago, I have to say, when I was in New York. I kind of like having a routine, and I like recording every week, so it felt weird to take a week off. So I think last week I felt a little discombobulated as I recorded, but this week I feel like I'm back in my groove, so I'm happy to be back. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy whatevers, and I'll see you next week. Bye!